When it comes to using a computer, you have to have software for it to work. And then you can improve the functionality of your computer by optimizing your software. Our body works in a similar manner. Our body, our muscles are like the hardware, like a computer's hardware, and then the nervous system is its software. My name is Dr. Jocelyn Conley. I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist and founder of the Vagina Doc, and in this video I'm going to talk about why training the nervous system is such an integral part of training your core. A lot of times when I am working with a client, they're postpartum and we have to rehab their core, and when we're talking about rehabbing the core, oftentimes I start with big picture. I talk about, okay, we have to retrain your posture because approximately 9 months of the year, you are growing a baby in your body. And as the baby gets bigger, the posture of a person who is pregnant, it changes substantially. And if you think about not that much time, but if we compare it to the timeline of how a posture changes from when you're pregnant, 9 months pregnant, to immediately postpartum, it is drastically different in such a short period of time. But overall, 9 months is not a long period of time. But what changes the most is your posture in that time when you're pregnant, and then from pregnant to not pregnant. So we have to rehab your posture, and it just so happens that the core, the main part or main function of the core is to keep your body upright against gravity or in response to any demands of gravity, and then also to maintain spinal stability and support when you foresee an object coming at you that could knock you off balance, or you can't see it, but suddenly you get knocked off, like you get pushed around, say if you're walking on a sidewalk and they bump into you, and you have to keep yourself from falling. Your core, your postural system is responsible for that. But here's the deal. Our brain is super efficient, and we have an area of our brain that basically can dampen or become more sensitive to sensory stimuli so that we keep ourselves safe. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're sitting in a room and the light above is making a buzzing sound. Well, after so much time, some people it's going to be faster, some people it's going to be slower, some people their nervous systems are so just like out of whack that they can't integrate or can't habituate to it. But these people will eventually be able to tune out that sound because of this part of our brain. This part of our brain also is responsible for telling our consciousness, or where we can become aware of if our head is in a position, or if there's too much stretch in our muscles, or if there is too much force and potentially we're at danger, so it makes modifications, or it slowly adapts so whatever we're experiencing isn't such a distraction. It affects our attention. That we accommodate to the postural changes that we impose on ourselves. So let's say we eventually get into this posture because we sit at a computer all day, and then someone corrects it, and they're like, okay, this is what looks like good posture. Let's compare that to what you think is good posture. And the two are drastically different. That is because of this area of our brain that habituates or accommodates to whatever demand is on our body. And that is affected during pregnancy, and it is rapidly changed after, and our nervous system is all sorts of out of whack, or our software is out of whack, and we need to reprogram it. So when it comes to postpartum core training, we want to train posture because all that change through our nervous system, or that ability to detect what is vertical, what's optimal posture, what's this alignment, that alignment, is off. And if we don't do that, then we start holding poses or positions, let's say sitting or standing. We start working our muscles potentially in a position that is suboptimal, that we became used to. That friend, oh, this is good posture, and then they say, no, I mean, this is what you look like, this is what the this whatever we're doing, and it will feel really uncomfortable for you, so you're always going to default back unless you retrain your software. So when we're talking about training your hardware, that is just like focusing on strength, endurance, those basic exercise principles that a lot of people are familiar with. When it comes to training the software, we have to think like neuroscientists or people like me in the field of rehab. And by that is all the things that affects this area in our brain. One, it's going to be visual information, the visual information that we're receiving. The other is our vestibular system. So our vestibular system is a system a part of it is in our inner ear, and it detects either positions of our head, movements of our body or in our head, whether that's horizontal translation, just like this, or vertical, moving up and down like this. Or another area of the inner ear where it detects rotations. That part of this is also part of where if we're standing on an incline, mainly because it affects the position of our head, and also if something's moving around us. Eyes, we also detect information through our senses, our 5 senses. The senses that are mainly responsible for or are relevant, but the others are important too, to movement, is our sense of touch and I already mentioned our sense of sight. And so putting our body in a position that is going to receive different sensory information from our sense of touch will affect our posture and our movement, as well as taking away access to visual information. So to train like I said, we're talking about training the software, we have to integrate that into the training. And that what the task is. So I say, you're going to stand on this surface, and this surface is unstable. To some degree, you can anticipate the instability, but then you don't really know until you actually get on. So the first is called anticipatory training, and then the other part is reactive training. Or I may be throwing something at you, and you have to react to it. That is also part of it. I know, it's a lot. That's why you have to be seen by someone that knows what they're doing, that can impose these tasks to you, where you're training not only your hardware, because doing the action, you're training the hardware. But we have to train the software to give the hardware something to work with. And the easiest way to do that is by putting you in poses or postures, teaching you how to hold yourself, and then taking that a step further by challenging head movements, whether that be horizontal, whether that be circular or positional. Taking away visual information, or changing the information that is coming in through your eyes, or changing the surface that you are sitting, standing, lying on, and then also holding a pose while also allowing your limbs to move a certain way and not allowing your spine to move or your neck to move. All of that is software training, and that is what distinguishes phenomenal or really effective program, as opposed to those that don't really have as robust of results, if any results at all. I know this is probably confusing, and when I prepared this video, I'm like, wow, how am I gonna take such complicated nervous system principles and put it in a video? So if you don't need to know all of this, like the science, but knowing that there's different ways or methods or approaches within core training is helpful and should be taken into consideration when you are doing any sort of core training. There are ways to test to see which area of your brain is under-functioning or over-functioning, and then getting really dialed in your training more than you would if you were to take a class that is geared just general, like targeting this area of the brain or this area of the nervous system. I know in some of my one-on-one programming, it's very, very much individualized and dialed in, as opposed to my group training is taking big pictures and applying it to the general audience and trying to start basic and build on from that. If you have any questions about anything I covered in this video, please comment below or reach out directly. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.